Hello everyone, welcome to the Archipelago live stream. My name is Liam. I'm one of the developers here at Archipelago where we create Lightroom presets and creative profiles for photographers. And today we've got another amazing stream for you. We're going to take a look at Quest 25 Fable. So Fable Presets, these are going to be coming out as part of our Quest subscription series, and these are due to come out in a couple of days' time on the 1st of June. I'm very, very excited to showcase these presets to you today. So Fable Presets, they are an emotive storytelling set of presets, really nice, warm, soft, and dreamy tones, and the aesthetic is gorgeous, both in the tonality and also in the tools that are included. The way that I've been thinking of it when I've been editing with these presets, doing the test in the last couple of months, is think about like a book maybe that's been in your family for a little while. It's been passed down, much loved, carried on holidays and all that kind of stuff, and it's a little bit rough around the edges. Maybe it has some torn pages, some stains, but tells a real story both in the book itself but also in the kind of condition of the book and how much it's been loved. That's the kind of aesthetic that I get from these presets. So very excited to showcase these ones to you today. Like I said, part of Quest subscription. So this will be coming out on the 1st of June to our members that are part of Quest subscription series. For those that don't know, Quest is a preset subscription. You can get a new set of presets every single month as part of the Quest membership, and they are free to download if you are a member. You pay just $8 per month to be a member, and we release a set, like I said, every single month. So if you sign up right now, you can download the current month set, which is actually 2 sets. So that's Quest Tools 06 Modern Borders and Quest Tools 07 Filmic Borders. And then in a couple of days' time, on the 1st of June, Quest 25 Fable will be dropping onto Quest as well. So lots and lots to love about Quest. You can check out more information about that and sign up at archipelagoquest.com. So go ahead and do that after this stream. If you're already signed up, you don't need to do anything. Just be excited because this is coming out in a couple of days' time. But we'll be giving away a pre-release copy of Fable to someone that's tuned into the live stream. So if you are tuned in, make sure you jump in the chat, say hello. I can see a lot of people in there already. Say hello, keep chatting as we go through this stream and I showcase the presets to you, and we're picking someone from the chat to win a pre-release copy of Fable. So definitely stick around, keep chatting away. I can see we've got lots of people getting prepped with their drinks. I can see there's teas, there's coffees, there's even popcorn, which I love. We actually bought a massive bag of popcorn kernels earlier today because I've been loving the popcorn. Thinking about maybe watching a film this evening. Watched Harry Potter last night, might watch something this evening as well and get the popcorn going as well. So we'll get into the edits in just a moment. Like I said, if you are tuned in, make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. That'll let you jump in the chat and say hello and interact as we go through the stream. While I've got your attention as well, do jump on and click the little thumbs up on the video. That'll just push it to more people so they can see this as it goes out live and also after. So let me show you the photos that we've got. We've got some amazing photos today. These are by several different photographers. You can see there's 8 images that I have here. As usual, as I go through the editing process, you're going to see the photographer's name in the top left along with their Instagram handle if we have it, and then the EXIF data just below that. So you can see this first image that I'll be editing is by Morgan. So lots of gorgeous photos that I'll be editing through this stream. Just showcase the presets, show you what Fable can do, talk a little bit about how to get the most out of them, and just show a few different scenarios and what they're able to do on those different images. If you have questions, as always, just throw those in the chat. I'll try and keep up with that and answer those on the stream if I can. Making a lemon lavender Earl Grey trifle. Hello. That sounds incredible for a tea party tomorrow. All right, Bryn, if you can post some of that over, that'd be great. I'll give you my address after. All right, so like I said, these 8 images, I'm going to edit this first image, the one by Morgan, just kind of go through the presets, talk about what the set includes, and then after that, I'll open it up for you to select which image you'd like to see edited next. Not just yet, so hold it for now. I'll let you know when, but when we're ready, I'm going to get you to select an image by just putting the number from the top left of each thumbnail in the chat, and I'll try and do it in the order that you want to see. But we'll start with this first image here. So like I said, Archipelago Quest 25 Fable. So it's the 25th installment of Quest. Can you believe it? We've got so many sets out now. As you can see, these are all the Quest sets here, 1 through 25. And then don't forget about the tools that we have here, 1 through 7 as well. So lots and lots of great stuff has come out as part of the Quest membership over the last couple of years. And if you are just signing up now, it's worth noting that you can actually go ahead and purchase any that were released prior to your subscription from the archive store by being a Quest member as well. So if there's anything that you've kind of seen and thought, oh, that looks really nice, you can go ahead and buy that from the archive store if you become a Quest member. But we're talking about Quest 25 Fable today. So you can see we've got the actual set here, and there's quite a lot in this one. It's quite a large set, so you've got a lot coming for you. So that's very, very good. Let's see what people are saying. Can't wait to see the green door image edited. That's a beautiful photo, actually. We've had that one for a little while. It's lovely. Caroline's on. Yay, I made it. Welcome, Caroline. Thank you. All right, so let's take a look at the set. I'm going to start by just getting the exposure and the white balance right on this image. So it's a little bit underexposed and it's a little bit on the cool side. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring the exposure up. I'll bring the temperature up. I'm not going to go super warm with this because I want to kind of maintain a little bit of that cool aesthetic. It looks like it's maybe blue hour. Just going to back the magenta off a little bit. Yeah, that's looking better to me. All right, let's take a look at the presets. So we've got 3 main presets, and these are named Fable Chapter 1, 2, and 3. So if I go ahead and show you those first, then I'll talk through the tools and the rest of the set. So Fable Chapter 1, really, really gorgeous. Look at that. Like I said before, it has that lovely, warm, soft, dreamy aesthetic. Brilliant set for that kind of emotive storytelling type of look. I've been absolutely adoring these. They're right up my street. So this is Fable Chapter 1. That's before and after. Fable Chapter 2, a little bit more of that sort of brown toning, a little bit more muted. You can see there in terms of what it's doing to the shadows. This is again 1 and this is 2. Really, really nice. And then Fable Chapter 3, slightly different aesthetic, a little bit cooler toned, a little bit more muted in the highlights as well. So again, 1, 2, and 3, and that's just one click. So looking absolutely stunning. I'm going to select one of these to begin with. So let's take a look. I think I'm probably going to go for 2 on this. 1 or 2. 1 or 2. I'm going to go 2, I think, on this one. So once we apply the preset, we have the creative profile, which in this case is called Fable setting. So we've got it set to 100 as default. And if I bring this to the left, you can see it softens the image up by lifting those shadows. And then if I bring it to the right, it just adds a little bit more punch, a little bit more contrast to the image as well. Now, I think for this one, I'm going to probably leave it around about 100. So leave it at the default amount. And then let's go ahead and take a look at the tools. So the first one we have is called Drama, and this one is absolutely fantastic. The great thing about Drama is it does exactly that. It adds drama to the image. You can see there with one click, it really transforms the photo. But this is one of those presets that use the AI masks in Lightroom, so it actually doesn't affect the subjects at all. So you can see if I hover over that again, you can see the subjects are unaffected. It only affects the background of the image. So if I bring this back to 0, this is it without drama, and this is it all the way up at 200. So really amazing transformation. I think especially on this image where, you know, we have that kind of mist rolling in. It's very soft in terms of the background. This can add a little bit more of that punch. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that up relatively high, just because I like the way that it's kind of rendering the background, and certainly like the texture in the water down here as well. And then we have these aged paper tools, and these are absolutely amazing. These kind of combine together to give that storybook kind of look. So the first one being aged paper tone. This one just shifts the tonality, kind of adds a mask layer with a tone that kind of adapts the image to give that really nice aged paper look. So you can see it adds a little bit of a color kind of wash across the image. It also mutes the highlights, crushes the shadows a little bit as well. Really, really gorgeous. And again, because this is a preset, we can now use the preset amount slider to determine exactly how much of that mask layer we want to apply. So this is it at 0, this is it at 200, and I'm going to go fairly high because I want to create quite a kind of emotive aesthetic for this. I'm going to go ahead and set that to 142. Then we have dust and scratches. So again, this is a nice way to add some texture to your image. This will just apply that kind of layer of dust and scratches. And again, you can set the amount, the intensity of it, but a really nice way to kind of add a little bit more to the image. So if I zoom in over here, you can see you've got these scratches here, little dust spots across the image, and you can see those layered all throughout. And again, if I wanted to change that, I could drag that up or down to increase or decrease the effect. But I actually really like it set at 100. The only thing I'm going to do on this particular image is we have this scratch here that's just over the subject. So I'm just going to jump into the mask panel, go to the dust and scratches layer, subtract, brush, and I'm just going to brush that out. Super simple. I'm going to leave the rest because I want it to look like this is affecting the whole image, but I just found that particular one a little bit distracting. So if you get the same, you can just use the brush to remove it from parts of your image. All right, so that's, again, we've got Fable Chapter 2. We've added drama to give a little bit more punch to the background, a little bit more drama to the background. We've used the aged paper tone. We've added some dust and scratches. Next, we have aged paper torn edge, and this is one of my favorites. It's absolutely stunning. This is a hand-drawn torn edge effect created by Richard, who made this set. And you can see in a moment when this renders, it will take a moment or two to render just because these are hand-drawn, like I said, so they're made up of lots of different elements. So when you apply it, it might take a second or two for that effect to apply. But you can see across the bottom of the image there, we have that incredible torn paper effect. Really nice for that kind of special type of image. I've been using this quite a lot and I really, really like the effect. And amazing that we can get this in Lightroom, right? So, so cool. Pearl says, love, love, love. Thank you so much. That aged paper gave it a new life. Yeah, totally. I've been absolutely adoring the aged paper. So again, we've got the amount slider. So you can actually go for certain images. If you back this off a little bit and let some of the kind of texture behind show through, it can look really, really cool. So if I back this off, you can see how that looks. But I think on this one, I just want it to look like torn paper. So I'm going to leave that set to, I'll drag it all the way up to 200. So that's looking really, really good. Next, we have water stains. And again, this one I think is absolutely amazing. It really harkens back to, you know, like an old photo that's kind of been a little bit damaged, or like I said, an old book. So if I go ahead and hover over water stain, we have two different versions, water stains 1 and water stains 2. So water stains 1, you can see just how amazing this looks. Very, very accurate. And that's because this has actually been modeled off an actual photo. So Richard had an old photo that he used as a reference that had the water damage marks like that. So they're very, very accurate. So you can see we have these spots across the image. You can see on the left-hand side, we have sort of that water mark as if it's been slightly damaged. And there is one on the right, although you can't really see it on this particular photo. I absolutely love that. This uses the AI masking again, where it essentially removes any of the spots from the skin of your subject. So the people in the image, if it identifies people, it'll make sure the spots aren't on their skin, but it'll apply to the rest of the image. So it looks very natural, but you're not going to get any unflattering spots on people if it's a photo of a person, which I absolutely love. And then if I hover over water stains 2, give that a second to render out. This one's a little bit more subtle. This one applies to the entire image, but it's much, much more subtle. You can see there's just a couple of spots across the image, but much, much more dialed back. But for this, I'm going to go all in. So I'm going to go water stains 1. Again, give that a second to render out. I've got a few layers going on now. OMG, the water stains, says Bryn. Yep, absolutely. That's genius, said Lena. Thank you. Better than rubbing old tea bags over your paper like when I was at school. Yeah, you can't really do that with a digital image. Don't want to be rubbing a tea bag on your computer screen. But this way you can do it with one click, which is nice. So again, we've got the amount, so we can decrease or increase that if you want to have a more pronounced effect. I think I'm quite happy with the default amount of 100 on this. If I go ahead and zoom in here, you can see up at the top there, we have the effect. We've got some down here as well, and then these spots that run across the image. Super cool, really, really accurate to what you would expect to see from an old photo or an old image in a book. All right, so the next ones we have are subject specific. So this is really great if you want to adapt a couple of things about the subject in your image nice and easily. So we have subject cool, subject warm. They do exactly that. You just apply the preset, set the amount, and it's just going to affect the subject in the image and not the rest of it. So if you found that, let's say you had an overly warm photo, you really liked that, but you wanted your subjects to look a little bit more natural, you can use subject cool, set the amount, and away you go. And obviously vice versa with subject warm. We also have subject reduce magenta. So if you're finding that you're getting the magenta cast in the skin and you want to fix that, again, apply that, and it's only going to affect the subjects just by reducing the magenta. Nice and easy. And then we have subject face and body exposure minus, exposure plus, and 0. So essentially these just do exactly that. So if I hover over face and body exposure plus, I'm going to zoom in on the image actually, so we can see that effect. So if I hover over this, it's just going to pick out the subject of the photo, and it's just going to raise the exposure a little bit. So nothing too drastic, but a nice simple tool that's going to be really useful just in terms of time saving. So this is at 0. This is it all the way up to 200. So for this, I'm going to use this. I'm going to increase it just a little bit, and that's just going to allow me to then keep the exposure a little bit lower, but make sure that we can see the subjects in this image. Next up, well, the face and body exposure 0, that just sets that back to 0. So if you just want to quickly go back to the original, you don't have to go into the mask panel and delete it or take the amount all the way down. You can just choose the 0 one just to kind of zero that out. So nice and easy. Then we have foliage, cool mint, and foliage, forest green. So these particular presets are designed to affect the foliage in your image. So if you have a lot of greenery in the background, that's what this affects. Now it will actually apply to the whole image, and that's just to give a cohesive look, but it's mainly affecting greens and yellows in the background of your photo. So on this particular photo, we don't have a lot of green going on. It's quite a monotone image just because it's that sort of blue hour. But you can see if I hover over cool mint, you're going to see a shift in the tones in this image. So there you go, it applies that. More obvious if you have foliage, so you'll see in one of the later images how that works, but it applies effect to the whole image, but mainly to the foliage in your photo. So cool mint gives those nice cool minty greens, very desaturated and pushed towards the mint side. And then we have forest green, which is that nice rich forest green. So give that a second to render out, and you can see how that affects the background in this particular image. But again, you'll see that more when we look at a photo that has some greenery in it. So I'm not going to use those on this because I don't really need them. The last thing I'm going to use is sky, dark, and moody. So this one is amazing just to give that nice moody sky in your image. Again, it just selects the sky, applies a reduction in the exposure, and now I can use the amount slider to decrease or increase that. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and increase that just so we get a little bit more detail out in the sky. Darken that down a little bit. And then the last thing I'm going to do, I'm actually going to go and cool off the white balance just to go for a little bit of a cooler look to the image. So I'm going to go around about there. Looks good to me. So again, let's take a look at the before and after. So this is the unedited image. Gorgeous, gorgeous photo by Morgan. And this is the edit. This is using Fable Chapter 2. We've got the profile set at the default amount of 100. We've used drama to add more definition and drama to the background. We've used age paper tone to give that nice kind of aged look to the image. Dust and scratches. We've done torn edge. We've got some water stains on there. We've used the face and body exposure plus just to bring out the detail in the subjects, and then dark and moody sky just to pull more detail into the sky there. So there's your before and after. I'll give you the side by side as well. Obsessed, said Caroline. Thank you so much. That's just fab, says Mark. Thank you. So many ways to edit an image. It's insane. It certainly is. You're right. Well, that's just brilliant. Love me a good sky. Yeah, you're going to absolutely love this one. If you've got a little bit of detail in the sky already, this can add tons of drama to the sky. If you've got quite a flat sky, it'll just pull a little bit more in there. Like on this one, it's just kind of pulled a little bit more into the sky and give us a little bit more of a balanced image, which I love. I'll go ahead and zoom in just to give you the detail there. So this is the before and after side by side. We can see down at the bottom, we've got the torn edge. We've got those marks across here from the water damage and the spots. We have the dust and scratches, the white marks across the image as well. That gorgeous warm tonality running through. You can see the detail in the sky coming through there as well, while still retaining detail in the rocks. Super nice. All right, so first image done. We've got 7 more to go. If you want to jump in the chat and let me know which image you want to see edited next, I'll go through these in the order that you want to see. If you are tuning in a little bit late, this is Quest 25 Fable. This is the next release part of our Quest subscription series. You can find out more by heading to archipelagoquest.com. The link is in the description. It's also somewhere in the chat there as well. This set's going to be coming out on the 1st of June, so a couple of days' time. And this is a fantastic emotive storytelling preset collection with beautiful, warm, soft tones and some amazing tools to help deliver that aesthetic. We'll be giving away a pre-release copy as well, so if you are tuned in, jump in the chat. Make sure you keep chatting away as we go through this. We'll be choosing someone to win a pre-release copy at the end of the stream. You'll get your hands on it early and get editing with it straight away. All right, so I can see image number 6 was picked first and then 5. So I'm just going to do 6 and 5. Is there grain in the pick? Can we see without, please? 100% Mark. Let's jump back into this one. Yep, there is grain as part of this preset. It has that kind of I'll zoom in and show you. It has that nice textured aesthetic. If I jump into the effects here, you can see I've got the grain set to 25. That's default as part of the preset. But if I just go ahead and drag that to 0 and give that a second, you can see that's it without the grain. So obviously this image was underexposed, so there's gonna be a little bit of noise in here naturally. But yeah, your grain is set to 25 as default, just to add that little bit of texture like you would see in a printed photo or a page of a book. But yeah, you can obviously set that to 0 if you want to. So there you go, Mark. All right, so I think it was image 6 and then 5. So let's go in that order. Thank you for everyone for selecting images. We'll do these 2 and then we'll go back and see what else you want to see. All right, so this one here, image number 6, this one by Bernadetta. Love this photo. We've had this one in our collection for a little while now, and I always love editing this one when I come across it. So I'm just going to bring the exposure up a little bit on this one, but I think the white balance is looking pretty much spot on. I probably wouldn't change that. So let's take a look. Fable chapter 1. Look at that gorgeous transformation. I love the colors. The greens are super nice. Those nice foresty greens. I love how it enhances the reds in the wood there. Adds that nice brown toning. You can see down in the shadows as well. Really, really nice. Keeps the dress nice and natural in this particular image as well. And the skin tone's looking lovely. So that's Fable chapter 1. Fable chapter 2, that's what I used on the image before. That has that nice rich brown running through it. You can see the difference in the greens there, a little bit more rich, a little bit more yellow versus chapter 1. That's the unedited, and that's with chapter 2. And then chapter 3, which is a little bit more cool toned, has a little bit more of a punchy look. Probably my personal favorite, and I think for this image I would pick chapter 3. I love the way it's rendering the green. Again, I love the way it's rendering the wood, but I also love the level of contrast we're getting from this as well. So chapter 3 is probably what I would go with. I'm going to bring the exposure up just a touch more. And now we've got the profile. Again, that's set to 100 as default. If I drag it to the left, you can see we get a little bit of a softer look. To the right, we get that punchier look. And I actually quite like the punchy look for this. So I'm going to bring this up, add a little bit more contrast and a little bit more definition to the image. So I think somewhere around there. Let's have a look and see if we'd use any of the tools on this particular photo as well. So drama, I probably wouldn't use. It looks like there's quite a lot of texture and detail in the background already, so I probably won't need to use drama, but let's have a quick look and see. So you can see how that affects the image whilst not affecting the subject. So this is a great example here where the subject is totally unaffected. I think if I was going to use it, I'd go a little bit more subtle. So I'd maybe go yeah, maybe just like 10, so just a tiny little smidge of that just to pop the subject out a little bit more. Aged paper tone, let's have a look. Really, really nice. I don't think I'd use it on this. I think I like the natural toning of the preset, so chapter 3, but a lovely look if you want to go for that more aged tonality. So if I'm not going to go for that, I might not necessarily go for many of the other tools, but I'm definitely going to use Torn Edge on this just because I really, really like the look of that. It's pretty cool. But I'm not going to use the dust and scratches, I don't think, for this. Maybe water stains too, because it's quite subtle. So let's take a look at water stains too. Yeah, so you can see it a little bit on the door there. There's quite a lot going on with this image. Obviously, there's a huge amount of texture in the wood, so you can't necessarily see that. Yeah, I'm just going to zero that out. I'll leave that as default. So let me show you the subject cool and warm. So this is subject cool. So again, that only affects the subject. If you want to just kind of keep the rest of the image looking how it is and just cool off the subject, you can do that. So you can see here, if I went quite high, one way that I could use this is go quite high on that and then bring the overall white balance up a little bit. So now we get that rich warmth in the background and the subject still looks very natural. So that's one way that you can use it. We have subject warm as well. Reduce magenta, don't need to use on this. The skin tones are looking really nice as they are, but I'll just show you how it would work. If I hover over here, you can see, just going to pull the magenta out of the skin tones. And again, you've got the amount slider, so you can drag that to the left or right. But I think for this, I'm loving how the preset is rendering the subject. Don't need to play around with the exposure on the subject either. But let me show you the foliage, because we have some greens, both in the foliage here and in the door. So if I go ahead and hover over Cool Mint, so there you go. So like I said before, that affects mainly the greens in the image, but it actually adds an overall amount of the effect to the image, just so it kind of ties in. If it was just the greens, it might look a little bit stark. So it's a really nice way to kind of adapt the image towards that. So there's the Cool Mint. So nice and desaturated. And then we have forest green, which is going to add that nice rich forest green to the image as well. So there you go. Again, for this, I think I like the way that it looks as it is. I probably wouldn't do anything else. I think, you know, we've only really applied the preset, increased the creative profile, and then just added a little tiny bit of drama to the background of the image. And that's really all it needs. I think it looks super, super nice. There's your side by side. I have a question, Liam. I noticed you rarely use the auto option for tone, and I'd love to know why. So you mean in this bit up here? Well, essentially, auto toning is going to affect all of these sliders in here. And a lot of those are set exactly where they are by the preset, and I don't want that to change. So the presets themselves will adapt, obviously not the exposure, but they will adapt the contrast, the highlights, the shadows, the whites, the blacks, and then obviously presence, but mainly this area here. They're going to be set by the preset, and that's baked in, and really you want that. The auto tone essentially just looks at the image and decides where the black should be, where the white should be, and it probably does a fine job, but obviously what you're looking for when you're using a preset is you're creating a certain type of aesthetic, and you're going to lose that if you use the auto tone feature. So I never use that. If you're using presets, I'd say you don't need to use the auto tone. Auto white balance, all that kind of stuff, absolutely, because you're not going to be setting the white balance by the preset. But auto toning is not taking into consideration the type of aesthetic, the style that you're going for. It's simply just going, where should the blacks be? Where should the whites be based on the image? So generally speaking, I would say stay away from that, because you want the preset to set that, to give you the aesthetic that you're going for. So that's my recommendation. So again, this is before, this is after. Lovely transformation, nice bit of detailing with the torn edge at the bottom there, but otherwise a very, very simple and clean edit with that nice, warm, soft aesthetic. This is such a vibe, says Sharon. Yep, love that. A Wes Anderson vibe, love that as well. Amazing. Very excited for the new Wes Anderson film to come out as well. All right, let's crack on. So image number 5 was selected next. This one here by Anna. Gorgeous, gorgeous photo. So much drama already in this image. So let's go ahead and see what these presets can do. I'm going to bring the exposure up just a little bit. This is one of those slightly tough images where it's hard to say where you're going to want the exposure to be in the final edit. So I kind of just go for something at the start, make sure my white balance is good, which I'm happy with, and then apply the preset and then go ahead and tweak if I need to from there. So Fable Chapter 1, let's take a look. Gorgeous, really, really nice. A little bit of that magenta and brown toning creeping in there. Lovely and soft. Fable Chapter 2, you can see how that renders the greens a little bit differently to Chapter 1. A little bit more rich on the greens. And also the color in the outfit of the subject as well, a little bit more enhanced with Chapter 2 in this image. And then Fable Chapter 3. I think I would be tempted by 3 on this one, but let me know what you think. Which one? Chapter 1, 2, or 3? Can't wait to see this one. It's already magical AF. Yes, I agree. It's such a gorgeous photo. What amazing atmosphere in it. I'm obsessed with everything about this image so far. Nice. Magical. Love 2, 3 for sure. 3 for me. Yep, 3 looks like the winner. So let's go ahead and do Fable Chapter 3 again for this one. So that's with just the preset and the minor tweak to the exposure. So again, creative profile, I'm probably going to, let's have a look. Yeah, I'm going to increase this because we have that level of softness being brought in by the actual atmosphere in the photo. I'm going to use that to kind of add a little bit more contrast to the image. So I'm going to drag that all the way up. Let's take a look at drama. I'm pretty sure, ooh, let's see, we could go for drama. Let's have a look. Ooh, yeah, we could go for a really dramatic edit with this and kind of get a lot more silhouette going on with these trees in the background. So I'm going to bring that up to about 132 before and after. I think what I might do is take a look. We've got lens correction on already, but I might bring the vignette up a little bit more just to kind of make sure we can see enough detail in the rest of the image. All right, let's see about the aged paper. I think for this, it's probably going to go whole hog. Let's have a look. So this is without, this is all the way up. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe about there, 130. I love the kind of glow that we're getting around the branches of the trees at the top. Super, super nice. I'm going to bring the exposure up a little bit. I might offset the green that's brought in with a little bit more magenta in the white balance. And I might cool it off a little bit so we get, yeah, that's looking lovely to me. All right, so I'm definitely going to stick dust and scratches on this as well. Just add that extra texture. Just had to go and follow Anna. What an image, said Sophie. Yeah, that's awesome. Yes, you have got the Instagram handle at the top there for each of the photographers whose image is featured. So if you do like what you see, definitely go and support them and subscribe to their, go and follow them on Instagram. Is it Thursday yet, says Suzanne. Not just yet, but you could potentially win a pre-release copy. Who knows? You are here. Tune in live. All right, let's crack the torn edge on this one as well. I think I'm going to go whole hog with this. Give this a second to render out. There we go. Yep, I'm going to leave that as default. Yeah, let's go water stains 1, I think, as well. So I'll give that a second to catch up. I'm running streaming software as well. Obviously Lightroom's running, so it's going to take a little bit longer than usual. If you're actually finding that when you apply presets like this that use AI masks, things like that, if your computer's struggling, one top tip for you. I mean, there are quite a lot of tips. Adobe have a great page about performance for Lightroom and how to get the best performance out of your computer. So definitely go and check that out, because that can be really helpful to make sure you're doing all the things to make your computer nice and quick. But one thing that you can do is when you go up to the top here, the top of the navigator, you've got the level of zoom. And one of the things you can actually do is, and this is especially good for using a large monitor, so I'm using a 32-inch monitor, is actually go for a small image. So if you go like that, because it's not having to render that on as many pixels, it can be a lot quicker then to go through each of these and have it render. So if you just want to kind of cycle through and see what each one does, do it in a small screen like this. So just bring the size of the image down in the navigator to something like 33 or 25%. And it's still big enough to see when you're actually sat in front of the computer to kind of go through and hover through each of the effects and see what you want. And it won't take anywhere near as long to render the previews before you actually apply the preset, and then you can just go back to the regular view. So if I do that here, if I go for Cool Mint, it's going to render a little bit quicker than it would do if I was doing it on the full pixel size of the image. So that's the Cool Mint, and this is the Forest Green. I'll decide if I want to use either of those on this particular image. Yeah, I think Forest Green is going to be a winner. I'm going to go ahead and zoom back in. So Forest Green, this is it set at 0. This is it at 200. I'm not going to go too high because I don't want to pull too much of that in, but I'm just going to go for a little bit just for that nice glow in the background and the sky. Looking good. I don't think I need to use dark and moody sky on this because we're not really seeing a whole lot of sky, but it might affect the kind of the branches around the top. Let's have a look. No, it's not really doing anything to this. It's not seeing a sky, so I think that's probably where I would leave the edit. I'm going to go ahead and bring the temperature down just a tiny touch. I'll add a little bit of magenta. I would go somewhere around there as the final edit. So this is before. And this is after. If I show you the side by side, what an amazing transformation. Gorgeous, gorgeous photo to start with. This one by Anna. And then the presets just added that really nice aesthetic to the image. If I go ahead and zoom into 100, you can see the lovely tonality in the background there. We've got the torn edge down at the bottom. Dust and scratches. We've got some of the water stains on there as well, just to really pull that effect in. What's really nice as well is if you find, let's say you've gone through and edited all these things and then suddenly you think, well, actually the water stains are maybe a little bit too intense. Easiest thing to do is just go back and apply the water stains again. So this is water stains 1. Apply water stains again, and then that's going to bring the amount slider back up at the top of the preset panel. So then from there you can very quickly adapt it. It'll just set it back to 100 as default, and then you can drag it to the left or right. And that's just a little bit quicker than going into the actual mask panel, finding the layer, especially if you've got a lot of layers going on, and then obviously setting the amount in there. It's just a bit quicker and easy to apply the preset again, set the amount, and then you can obviously do it a little bit quicker and easier. So I would leave that there, I think. Yeah, I think there looks good to me. So again, before and after. This one with Fable Chapter 3. Profile increased. We've added some drama to the background. We've done the aged paper tone, we've done dust and scratches, torn edge, water stains, and we've done some forest green on this one as well. Gorgeous, stunning, killer. Imagine enhanced with a killer preset. Yeah. So many ways to edit this image and it would look amazing. Yeah, I agree totally. Totally be the cover of a book or even a DVD. Love that. Do you remember DVDs? Old school now, aren't they, DVDs? Mark says, just waiting for the 3 bears to turn up now. Magical. Love it. Feel like forest green is going to be my new obsession. Yes. All right, so back to the images. We have image 2, 3, 4, 7, and 8 to go. Let's start rattling through these. Let me know what you want to see edited next. I've just seen Kim's comment, holy mystical mastery Batman. That's incredible. Love that. Justin says image number 2, and then Bryn says image number 3. So let's go 2 and then 3. Thank you very much. All right, this one here by Justin. Lovely photo. Nice and simple composition with this old rusty car and this couple just in front. Bring the exposure up a little bit. I think the white balance is looking good to me, so I'm going to leave that as it is. Let's take a look at the preset. So Fable Chapter 1 looking really, really nice on this one. That might be the winner already. Fable Chapter 2 looking good. Chapter 3. I do like 3 with the blues of the car and the greens in the background, but I think Chapter 1's just got something going on. I think it's because of the little bit of magenta and the warm tones. It's just pulling the rust out in the vehicle and just rendering the skin tones really nicely. So I've got Fable Chapter 1. I'm going to set the profile. I'm going to bring it up a little bit. So it's set to 125 as default. I'm going to bring it up to 176. So that's before, that's after. That's just with the preset. That's Fable Chapter 1. Let's take a look at the tools, see if we want to use any of these. Drama. Yeah, I quite like drama actually. It's just pulling a little bit of the kind of contrast, the exposure down in the background, adding a little bit more contrast. I'm going to bring that to about 65. Bring the exposure up a tiny touch. And I know already I'm going to want to use face and body exposure plus. So I'm going to apply that now. And let's see what we want to do with that. So I'm going to go, yeah, that's just going to give us a little bit of more exposure on the subject and just darken down the background a bit so we get that kind of nice draw towards the subjects there. Age paper tone. Looking really nice. If I was going to use it on this, I think I'd go really, really subtle. So I'd maybe just go for a tiny injection of that, about there, 40. So it just adds a little bit more of that softness and that nice warm toning there without going too drastic. Let's take a look at the foliage. Cool mint. That's looking very cool, actually. Hey, cool mint. Cool. Get it? Forest green. Let's take a look. Ooh, it's a tough one. I think forest green. Forest green's looking good. So I'm going to apply that. Let's take a look. This is it at 0. This is it all the way up at 200. I don't want to go all the way to 200, but I want to go maybe about there, 59. So again, before and after. I'm going to bring the exposure up just a tiny touch more. We could do subject cool on this actually. Just cool the subject down just a tiny touch. When we added the aged paper tone, it just warmed it up a little bit. So with this, I can just cool them off just a tiny bit. So that's it at 0. 200. Yeah, I'm going to probably set it quite high, about 140, 147. There's before, there's after. And I probably wouldn't do anything else to this. I think the amount of texture that we've got going on in the image already, both with the vehicle, the rusted kind of car, the texture in the leaves behind in the trees, I think all of that is looking really, really nice. I don't want to make this overly busy. So I'm not going to use any more of the, excuse me, the water stains or the dust and scratches or anything on this particular image. But there's your before and after. I'll go ahead and zoom in as well. Yeah, I love what it's done to the rust in the car there, looking super nice. Skin tones rendered really nicely, and then those nice forest greens, so a little bit warmer toned greens in the background there. What we're saying, love it. Keeping it cool, Liam. Whoa, game changer on the greenery change. Yes, totally. It's one of those subject matters, actually, when we talk about greens, it's a real divisive thing. You often find that people prefer one particular look of green or they really struggle with editing green. So I think having a couple of tools in there that can help you push greens one way or the other. And the fact that it actually does it in a very cohesive way, it doesn't just affect the greens, it actually affects a little bit of the rest of the image, but mainly the greens is a really nice way of doing it. So props to Richard for creating those foliage tools. Such a quick edit, obsessed with these skin tones. Love that. Thank you so much. Again, there's your before, there's your after. Image by Justin Cook. All right, so next image was this one here by Corey Lynn Tucker. A stunning photo. This is another one that I love to edit every time it comes up. I always love kind of a coastal image where it has that nice kind of monochromatic look. Certainly with this one, with them having just the white and the black outfits and then just those nice coastal tones. I think exposure is looking good. I don't think I changed that or the white balance. It's pretty much bang on straight out of camera. So let's take a look. We've got Fable Chapter 1. Love that. Really, really nice transformation there. Fable Chapter 1, one click, looking lovely. Fable Chapter 2, very, very nice as well. That could actually be a winner on this particular image. And then Fable Chapter 3, a little bit more neutral looking. Again, that could look really nice on this. I think, ooh. Actually, I'm going to go Fable Chapter 3, and then we'll have a play around with the aged paper tone, which is going to add a little bit more warmth to it as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to play around with the profile. Let's see if we want to increase or decrease that. I think increasing it looks really, really nice. It's just adding a little bit more definition between the subjects and the background, a little bit more definition in the rocks there as well. All right, let's see what we're saying. Can't wait to see what it's going to do with the whites here. Gary said, got some weddings and elopements coming up, and I think these will be perfect for them. Yeah, you're going to love this set. Let's have a look. I feel like Film Doesn't Mentor. If Film Doesn't Mentor should at least come out with pre-filmed Lightroom courses that we can buy. You know what? We've got loads of stuff on our YouTube channel. There's loads and loads of tutorials that we've created over the last several years that are available on our YouTube. So if you scroll back a little bit, or if you take a look at the playlists for things like quick tips or edit room sessions, there's loads of great tips on there. We're still putting them out. Chris, one of the other developers, he creates a tutorial on a monthly basis as well. So definitely the YouTube's the place to be. You don't need any private mentoring from me, trust me. But also these live streams. I try and throw tips and tricks into the live streams as well. So I try and make these educational as well as a way of showcasing the presets. So thank you for that. All right, so this one was Fable Chapter 3. I've increased the profile. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at aged paper tone. Yeah, 100% going to use that on this. Looks really, really nice. Again, this is it without. This is it with. So it's just muting down the whites in the sky and in the outfit there. Just rendering a little bit more warmth, slightly green toned, has that really, really nice evocative feel. I'm going to probably leave it at the default amount of 100. I'm just going to bring the overall exposure down a tiny touch as well. Lovely. All right. So again, I tend to find if I go for aged paper tone, I tend to want to go all in and use all of the tools. So let's take a look at water stains. I'm going to use probably water stains 2, if anything, on this, just for something a little bit more subtle. I don't want to go for something too crazy, especially because we've got quite a lot of white expanse at the top. I don't want that to be drawing too much attention with the spots. So let's take a look. This is water stains 2. Yeah, very, very subtle. I'm going to probably crank that up a little bit just so it's a little bit more obvious, but it is quite subtle. It's mainly sort of like around here and down the bottom. Actually, I'm going to bring it back a little bit because I know what I'm going to do next. I'm going to take a look at Sky Dark and Moody. Now, there's not a lot of detail going on in the sky. I think it's a very overcast day. It looks like the sky was overexposed in the shots. There's not really much detail there. But if I go ahead and crank this up, you can see it just pulls just enough detail and texture back into the sky. Just brings that exposure down. You can see there's a little bit of texture like around here, and it's just enough to add a little bit more dimension to that sky, make it a little bit less flat. So I've cranked that all the way to 200. I'm going to go for the torn edge, obviously, because I love it. I think it looks very, very cool. I love all the YouTube tutorials from you and definitely recommend checking them out. If you haven't, they've really helped me, especially when I don't have a chance to jump on the live edits. That was from Julia. Thank you so much, Julia. Really appreciate that. Yeah, definitely check out the rest of the content on our YouTube. We work really hard on all of this content, you know, the live streams, but also the tutorials that we put out, the overview videos, all that kind of good stuff. So definitely subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, check out some of the other videos. We've got some great playlists on there. If you haven't got a lot of time, the 60-second edits can be really helpful. They are literally a minute or so long, and they're just a great way of seeing how you might edit or how you might mix and match certain profiles and tools and presets and all that kind of good stuff as well. So they're nice and easy if you've not got a lot of time, but we have got some longer form ones in there. There's even some shooting tutorials as well, somewhere you can see Chris and Lauren actually taking photos and then talking a little bit about how you can use light in your images when you're actually shooting, all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, lots to check out there. So that's with the torn edge down at the bottom there, looking super nice. I love the way that adds that extra little bit of dimension to the image. And then we've got dust and scratches, which I probably wouldn't use on this. I don't think it particularly needs it. I like the kind of the texture from the natural scene that we're seeing here. I don't think it needs the extra dust and scratches. And I don't think we need to use any of the other tools. We've not got any green in this. We could, of course, use the foliage anyway, because like I said before, it will still affect parts of the rest of the image. And because there are some yellows going on in the background, it will affect those in the image. But I think for this, I like the way that the preset's rendering as it is. So I probably wouldn't do anything else. That's before. And that's after. You can see how it's given that really nice vintage aesthetic, that kind of softness to it, that nice warm toning. This one was with Fable Chapter 3. Crank the profile up, add the aged paper tone. We've got the torn edge at the bottom, we've got some water stains on there as well. There's your side by side. And then zoom in, I can show you there. You can see the skin tones again rendered really nicely. I love the cohesion between just the colors throughout this image. So the way the rocks are rendered, the skin tones, obviously it's very neutral in the fact that the outfits are, you know, very, very simple. I think the only other thing that I would do now that I've zoomed in is probably just remove that little bit of fringing if it'll let me. Let's see, it doesn't always pick it up. Yeah, there we go. Just a little bit distracting with the purple there. So just remove the fringing. But yeah, that's it. So there's, again, before and after. This one by Corey Lynn Tucker, amazing photographer. And this is a really, really nice edit here with Fable Chapter 3. Wow, that creaminess, says Catherine. Yes. A couple are so cool, I agree. Yep, totally. All right, so let's see what we've got left. We've got image number 4, image number 7, and image number 8. So let me know what you want to see next. We'll rattle through these next few. Again, we are giving away a pre-release copy of this set. This is Quest 25 Fable. These presets are coming out on the 1st of June, but we'll be giving away a pre-release copy to someone in the chat. So if you are here, tuned in, chatting away in the live stream, we'll be choosing someone at the end of this. So after we've edited these last few, we'll be picking someone to win. But if you don't win, if you're part of Quest, don't worry, on the 1st of June, you're going to get your hands on this. If you're not part of Quest yet, go ahead and subscribe now. It's just $8 per month to be a Quest member. And each month we release a new preset to our members that's free to download. Actually, this month there's 2, so we've given a bonus set as well. So if you subscribe right now, we're still in the month of May. So both Quest Tools 06 Modern Borders and Quest Tools 07 Filmic Borders are available to download for free to our members. And then on the 1st of June, you're going to get your hands on Quest 25 Fable. And as Kim has said there, best investment ever. Absolutely best investment ever. If you think about the price, you know, look at this preset collection, for instance, you know, 3 core presets, a creative profile, all those amazing tools. And obviously that's going to be released for free to Quest subscribers. So paying just $8 per month. If you think about a year of Quest, which is at least 12 preset collections plus the bonus ones that we release, that's still less than the price of a regular preset collection. And you're getting all those amazing tools throughout that period of time. So it's an amazing, amazing investment. It's like Christmas every month when the new set gets released and you get to see what it is and what it's all about. Get to, you know, explore new edits, all that kind of good stuff. So definitely recommend checking out archipelagoquest.com if you want to see more about that and subscribe to it. And like I said, $8, absolute bargain. All right, so 7 and 8 and 4. So let's do it in that order. 7, 8, 4. Image number 7 first. This one here by well, I'm going to say this wrong. I'm so sorry. Grzegorz. I hope that's somewhat right. Gorgeous, gorgeous photo. I apologize about the way that I pronounce your name, but absolutely gorgeous photo. Krupa_photography on Instagram if you want to check out more of their work. So I'm going to bring the exposure up on this one. Somewhere around there is looking good. I think white balance is probably good. I could go a little bit warmer just for that look, but I think the preset's going to give that anyway. So I'm going to leave it as it is. So let's take a look. Fable Chapter 1. Looking absolutely stunning. I love the way it's rendering the browns in the outfit there in the hat. Love the greens again. Skin tones looking super, super nice with one click. Yeah, and as Richard said there, and the sets are always cutting edge using the latest Lightroom technology. Yeah, that's really what Quest was all about. When we first created Quest, part of it was just about pushing creativity of the photographers in our community and providing new tools and new aesthetics to explore every single month. But the other part of it was just pushing the boundaries of what's possible because, we use Adobe Lightroom and Lightroom is constantly evolving, especially over the last couple of years. They've added so many amazing features. And really with Quest, that allows us to jump on those features as soon as they are launched and create sets that take advantage of those particular features. So you're seeing tools in here that affect things like just the skin of the subject. That's because of the AI features that were released in a couple of updates ago in Lightroom, and then those ones were then enhanced further beyond that allow you to affect things like features of your subject, all that kind of good stuff. So we're constantly evolving, constantly adapting, jumping on those new features and releasing that as part of those presets every single month. So it's definitely the most innovative collection of presets that are out there. Period. But yeah, we're constantly evolving and adapting. And if you look at like this current month, so the month of May with the borders, especially something like filmic borders, if you haven't seen it, go and check out that set. I've got a live stream for that. The filmic borders, again, one click in Lightroom and it applies a border around the image that emulates and replicates the look of filmic borders with data on there. You have the borders around the edge, light leaks, all that stuff. And it's just in Lightroom. It's really pushing the boundaries of what's possible in Lightroom that really no one else is doing. So definitely some of the most innovative presets out there. All right, that's enough chatter. Let's take a look at these presets. So chapter 1, chapter 2, much more evocative, that really nice rich warmth throughout. That's looking lovely, much more desaturated in the greens. And then Fable chapter 3, a little bit more neutral looking, that cooler toning. I'm going to go for 1 on this. I think that looks super nice on the 1 click. Just going to bring the exposure up a tiny touch. Let's take a look at the profile. So again, this is set to 125 with this particular preset. I'm going to bring it up a little bit. So about 169. Let's take a look at drama. I don't think I need that on this because we've already got quite a dark background. So you could go for that if you wanted to pull a little bit more focus and emphasis on the subjects, but I think in this case it's looking nice and I actually like a little bit of the texture there, so I'm not going to do that. I am going to come down to the foliage because we have got those greens in the background, so I want to see what happens when I use cool mint and forest green. So cool mint first up, you can see that lovely, nice desaturated, cool toned green in the background there, nice shift. And I actually really like that on this. Let's take a look at forest green first though. So again, a little bit more warm tones in the greens, but I think the cool mint is just looking super nice on this. So I'm going to go for cool mint. I'm going to check out the amount and I'm going to crank it. I'm going to go quite high. So I'm going to set that to 172 so you can see that really nice cool minty tone of the green in the background, a little bit more desaturated. There's before, there's after. Absolutely loving that. Reduce magenta, I don't need to use that on this. I think skin tones look super nice. Again, some of these tools are maybe ones that you're going to use infrequently. I think like the subject tools, you're not necessarily going to need to use them loads, but they're a real time saver if you have a particular image where you are struggling with a certain element. So, if there's too much magenta, if the skin tones are kind of a little bit too warm, a little bit too cool, all that kind of stuff, you've got those tools right there, but I don't need to use that on this. It's looking super nice as it is. I don't think I'm going to do the aged paper tone, but let's have a look. It does look nice, but I just really like the natural toning that we're getting from chapter 1 on this. But I would probably go for some dust and scratches, and I would probably go for the torn edge on this because I'm a sucker for the torn edge. I love it. There we go. Staying hydrated as well. All right, so I would probably leave this there. I maybe would back the dust and scratches off just a little bit. I'm just going to show you the before and after in a moment. I'm probably going to bring the dust and scratches down just a tiny touch. Give that a second to render. So the torn edge especially will take a second or two to render out. And that's because it's been literally created by hand. So it's a brush you can see in here. It's a brush that's made this one single brush with multiple different brush strokes that's created this effect along the bottom. So it's very, very impressive in what it's doing, very impressive in what Richard did to create it, but it does mean it takes a second or two for it to render. All I'm going to do is go into the dust and scratches in the mask panel, and I'm going to bring that down a little bit just so it's more subtle on this photo. I think somewhere around there looks good to me. I probably would leave it there. Super, super nice, really clean edit, has that nice storytelling aesthetic. but you know, nothing too over the top, not too stylized. So that's the lovely thing about this set. You've got the tools there, the presets, the way that they're kind of built out with the separate effects, the separate, obviously the creative profile, how you can set that. So you can either go for something a little bit more subtle with a little bit of that kind of storytelling aesthetic, a little bit of that kind of romantic look, or you can go for something super stylized and really, really go into that emotive kind of aesthetic on the image as well. So really, really nice. As Richard says there, look, it took me a long time to make. I can believe it. Trust me. When I was making the borders, that took forever to do. So yeah, I can attest to how long it takes to make some of these tools and these effects. So amazing job, Richard. Liam, can the tear be used on the other edge of the frame? Yes and no. So essentially, whenever you import an image into Lightroom, there's a certain orientation that's given to the photo, and it's usually the orientation that it's shot at. So in this case, this image has been obviously imported this way around, so it's going to apply the torn edge to the bottom. There isn't an easy way, unfortunately, with Lightroom to flip an effect around to other sides. It's just not really possible to do, unfortunately. And obviously, short of us making every effect 4 times and having 4 presets that each affect each side, which of course they'd be slightly different and it would make the sets much bigger. There isn't a quick and easy way of doing it. But one thing you can do, really simple, do the rest of the edit exactly how you want, export the image from Lightroom in full resolution, import the image back to Lightroom, basically when you export it in the orientation that you want it. So let's say if you want to put it on the right hand side of the image, just rotate the photo, export it in full resolution, import the photo back in, and when you import it back in, it sees the photo as being this orientation, so it sees it as being this way around. That means when you apply the torn edge, it's going to apply to the bottom, which in this case is going to be the right hand side, so the bottom of the image in this case. Once you've applied it, you can flip the photo back around. In fact, you can flip it before anyway, because it's always going to see that photo then as being that way around, so all the effects are going to apply like that. So it's a workaround essentially. So it's simply do all the rest of the edit, don't apply the torn edge, flip the photo so that the side that you want the torn edge on is at the bottom, export it, import it back into Lightroom, apply torn edge, flip it back around, job done. There you go. All right, so side by side, there you go. I cannot get over the browns and greens together. Yeah, such a nice combination. The way that they render is super beautiful, especially, you know, a photo like this where you just have browns and greens. It looks so nice. So again, this one was with Fable Chapter 1, increase the profile. We've used the torn edge, we've used some dust and scratches, pulled that back a little bit, and then we've used the Cool Mint foliage tool just to kind of dial the greens in exactly how we want them. And as Catherine said, the greens are perfect. So there you go, before and after. Gorgeous image there. Thank you so much for that photo. All right, so we said 8 and then 4. So let's get these last couple done, and then we'll be announcing a winner for the pre-release copy of Fable. All right, this one here by Gail. Gail's images are super nice to work with. Love this photo. Love the kind of lighting that we're getting. Nice natural light just coming in through what I assume is a window on the right of the subjects. And then we've got a little bit of the wall in the foreground. Nice texture in the background. Lovely, lovely job, Gail. So Fable Chapter 1, Fable Chapter 2, and Fable Chapter 3. I would be hard pressed to decide which one to go for on this. Maybe 3, but let me know what you think. That's 1, 2, and 3. Probably lean into 3. Mark says 3, Richard says 2. Carly says 3, 1 or 3, 3 or 1, 3. All right, okay. I think 3 wins out. Sorry, Richard, you picked 2 and it's your set, but 3 has won the vote. So that's Fable Chapter 3. The profile, I'm actually going to use the profile the other way. I'm going to bring it down. So bring it to the left. You can see how that just lifts those shadows, reduces the contrast. We get a bit of a softer look to the image. So I'm going to bring that all the way to 0 so we can kind of soften out some of those shadows there. Drama, let's have a look and see what we're going to get with this. Really nice, actually. It looks super nice, but it looks a little bit more like the unedited image where it's kind of very dark and then the subject's there. I don't think I'd use that on this because I actually want to balance out the background and the subjects a little bit more just because I like the texture. Let's take a look at aged paper tone. Definitely going to use a little bit of that, I think, on this. Probably just a subtle amount, maybe Yeah, maybe about 40, I think. Looks good. Just brings a little bit of that kind of soft tonality, a little bit of warmth to it. Looking really nice. Dust and scratches, I don't think I'm going to use on this, but I am going to use water stains, probably water stains 1, I think. Give that a second to render. I'm going to back that off a little bit just so it's a little bit more subtle. Torn edge, obviously, all the time, every time. Love the torn edge. I might back it off though because it can look really good. So we can see what that looks like in this. Yeah, I'm going to go for that. So this is one of those images where you can see how the texture of the photo can actually add to the torn paper effect. So in this case, you can kind of see some of the texture of the floor. Obviously, you can see where the wall is here, but I don't mind that. I think it looks really cool. So you can actually use this a little bit more creatively by just bringing the amount down. So I brought that down to 13, so we can kind of still get that effect, but now we have a little bit of that sort of texture of the photo coming through as well. So almost, again, looks a little bit like the water stains. Very, very cool. Speaking of cool, do we want to use any of the subject cool or warm tools in this? Let's have a quick look and see. Don't think we need to. I think the natural kind of balance is looking good. Maybe a little bit of subject warm. It's actually looking quite flattering on the subject, so just a little bit of a push in the warmth. Face and body exposure, I think they're looking good. I don't need to increase or decrease that, but again, nice to have those tools if we need them. Not got much foliage, well, not got any foliage. There's a little bit in the bouquet there, but nothing going on. And then we don't have any sky, so not going to do anything with that. So this is before and after. Nice, simple edit again, but I love the amount of texture that's adding, especially with that torn edge backed off and the water stains backed off. It's just a little bit of extra kind of texture to the photo. We've also used the aged paper tone, but again, a little bit more subtle. I've set it to, I think, 40, just to kind of bring a little bit of that in, but we've used the creative profile in a negative amount by going to 0 instead of setting it to 100 or higher, just to kind of balance out the shadows and the highlights in the image. Love it with the torn edge lowered. Love the composition, Gail. Yeah, agree, Sharon. That's definitely a really nice composition. I have the use of an old fort as a pop-up studio. It has distressed white painted brick walls. This set is perfect for... Wow, that sounds amazing, Catherine. Very jealous. I'd love to see the images. Make sure you share those in the Archipelago Collective Facebook group when you've got those, because I'd love to see those. Texture is amazing. Nice shot, Gail. Yep, agreed. Gorgeous image and edit on this one. All the delicious texture. I love how the tone helps make the subject pop out just a little bit more gorgeous. Yeah, I love that. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see the texture there as well. I love the way it's rendering the shadows. You kind of get that little bit of crushed shadow look, which again emulates that look of a faded photograph, which looks super nice in this case. Love it. All right, so we're on to the last image. This one here, number 4. This one is by Denise. I'm going to bring the exposure up quite a bit. It's quite an underexposed image. This one looks like another Blue Hour photo. I'm going to take a look at the lens corrections. Yeah, I'm going to apply the lens correction just so we can kind of get rid of a little bit of that vignette. And I think the white balance is looking okay. Again, it might be one of those photos that I decide to change that after I've applied the preset, but I'm just going to leave that as it is for now. All right, Fable Chapter 1, Fable Chapter 2, and Fable Chapter 3. I am drawn to 1 on this. I'm going to go ahead and check out drama. I think that might be, let's see, maybe a tiny little bit of drama. Doesn't need too much to pop the subjects out. We could actually go ahead and bring the overall exposure down and then use face and body exposure plus just to bring a little bit more of exposure back on the subjects. And if I bring that up quite high, then I can kind of bring the overall exposure down a little bit so we can kind of keep that lower light sort of look. Aged paper tone, I don't think I'm going to do it on that. I think it already has a little bit of a softness to it based on the lighting. I don't think I'll do water stains, excuse me, water stains either. I might do cool on the subjects. Let's go for that. Yeah, I'm just going to cool the subjects off just a tiny little bit, and then I can add a little bit more temperature into the image. And I'm just going to bring the magenta down a tiny touch as well, just to kind of lean into that faded photo aesthetic. I often find that these type of images often have less magenta and a little bit more green tone. So if you kind of want to lean into that vintage image look, if you push it towards the green side on the tint, that can sometimes help achieve that look. Sky dark and moody, we could go for that on this because we have got a sky. Again, there's not a lot going on in this particular image. If we had a sky with a lot of texture, it would pull a lot of that out. But in this case, it's just going to darken down that sky a tiny little bit there. Let's take a look. Yeah. Don't think we'll use the foliage. Again, let's check them out and see, because sometimes I've been surprised, even in images where there's no foliage, at just how the colors render differently. And I do quite like the cool mint. It is pulling out some of the magenta in the background, but I actually quite like that. So this is it at 0. This is it all the way at 200. I wouldn't have it at 200. It's pulling a lot of green in, but I'm going to bring it up a little bit. That's looking really nice to me. Of course, I'm going to go for a torn edge though on this, because I always like to do the torn edge. Yeah, love that. Really, really nice. Give that a second. What we're saying. I love everything about this set, says Caroline. Thank you so much. Finally, an image from the Sony profile. Love that. Hey, if you shoot Sony and you want to see some images edited, the other live stream that I do every month is the Archipelago Edits live stream, and that one you can submit your own images to be considered for the live stream. So you just go ahead and submit your images. There's a link in the description of any of those videos, so any of the Archipelago Edits live streams. You can rewatch those, but there's a link in the description of those videos where you can submit your own RAW files. So you go ahead and submit some Sony RAW files. I'll be choosing from that pool of images for future Archipelago Edits live streams. Lawrence put the link in the chat there as well. You can submit as many as you like. You can submit them over a period of time as well. And I'll be choosing from those to edit in those Archipelago Edits live streams. So you're going to get to see those files edited, your own files edited. And if yours is selected, you win a free preset collection of your choice. So there's a good reason to do it, as well as seeing your photo. Bryn says, yes, Fuji is another color profile I'm obsessed with. Yeah, I shoot Fuji, so it's always nice to see the Fuji images coming through as well, because I love Fuji files. I've been wanting to switch to Sony, but I'm so hung up on the Canon color profile. Hey, yeah, it's all personal preference. I know for me, I adore Fuji. I used to use Canon. I love the Canon colors as well, but they all produce amazing colors. They're all slightly different, but yeah, it's worth just getting hold of one of those cameras and trying them out if you can, seeing what you think personally. All of our presets work with all of those camera brands. We test all of the sets with the huge library of raw images that we have access to, which involves every single type of file you can imagine from every big camera manufacturer. So just be safe in the knowledge that they're all tested. They all look amazing across all of those files. But if you want to see how they look on your particular files, you can either submit for the, like I said, the Archipelago Edits live streams, or if you go to the Archipelago Collective Facebook group, you can also do test edits in there. If you just upload some raw files to something like WeTransfer or Google Drive, share the link on the Archipelago Collective Facebook group, and then either another group member or one of the admins will do a test edit for you to see certain presets on your photos if you're interested as well. All right, let me show you the side by side. There you go, before and after. Obviously, relatively underexposed on the before image. You can see how that's just transformed it. Kept it, again, quite natural looking. We're not got for anything too dramatic on this. Of course, I put the torn edge on there just for an added little extra effect. But otherwise, it's a very sort of neutral edit. It has that nice, soft aesthetic. This one we used, which preset was it? I can't remember. Let me jump down here and have a look. It was Chapter 1. So, yeah, Chapter 1. Fable Chapter 1, we increased the profile, we've done the torn edge, and we've done a little bit of the cool mint foliage there as well as dark and moody for the sky. So Lawrence put the link in the chat there for the Facebook group. Definitely go ahead and join the group. There's some amazing edits going on in there. You can share your images as well. We always love to see that. In a moment, we're going to be announcing the winner of the pre-release collection for Fable, so you can get your hands on that early. And we always say, if you are one of the people that are going to win the pre-release, definitely go ahead, edit with it straight away, but throw those edits in the collective Facebook group for two reasons. One, bragging rights. You want to brag that you've just won them on the live stream, but also so that the other Quest members can see what they're going to be getting in Quest coming up. Get excited for that. Like I said, that's coming out on the 1st of June, so a couple of days away. So definitely go ahead and share those in there. So we're going to be announcing the winner in just a moment. Thank you so much to everyone for tuning in. While I've got your attention, actually, if I could get you to just give the video a like, that just gets it out to more people. And of course, we want people to see this so they can see what's coming to Quest in the future. And there we go. Lauren's announced the winners in the chat. So the winners of the pre-release of Fable are Saran, Josiane, and Sharon. You're all getting pre-release copies of Quest 25 Fable. Congratulations to you. Just email us on the email that you see in the chat there, and we'll get that sorted out for you. Get editing with it straight away. Go into the Facebook Archipelago Collective Facebook group and share your edits in there. Let us know what you think to this brand new set. And then for everyone else, on the 1st of June, this is coming to Quest. Like I said, just $8 per month to be a Quest member right now, and you'll get your hands on this on the 1st of June. So big congratulations. Again, thank you to photographers that we featured in this live stream, all those amazing images, and thank you to you for tuning in. And I'll see you in the next live stream.